Welcome to the Resource Podcast, where we take a slightly sassy, fully feminist approach to creating healthy relationships and a joyful life. I'm your host, Tatiana Thompson, and I'm a licensed professional counselor practicing in both Arizona and Minnesota. I specialize in applying clinically proven techniques like EMDR, parts work, and neural reprogramming to help you see real, lasting change in your everyday life. Just remember, I am a licensed therapist, but I'm not your therapist. This show is for informational purposes only, and it's not a replacement for seeking personal mental health or medical advice. So join me now as we explore simple strategies for breaking toxic relationship patterns and applying simple mental health tools to your daily life. Learn how to take the small steps today that will guide you to your best life tomorrow. Hello and welcome to the Resourced Podcast, the show that invites you to question everything you thought you knew about relationships and mental health so you can finally break through your stuck points and create the life you've always wanted. I'm your host, Tatiana, and I'm on a mission to help 1,000 women become emotionally and financially independent so they can choose a relationship instead of needing one. And today I want to talk to you about the power of slowing down. And it's actually funny that I say that because what I'm referring to is the way we live our lives or seek to attain our goals. But I've also noticed that my own speech on these episodes can feel a bit rushed sometimes. So I'm also going to work on slowing down with my delivery, in fact. Because if we're honest, we all know that being unrushed conveys confidence in our speech, in our behaviors, in our decisions. It lets our bodies and others know that we trust ourselves and that we trust things are working out for us. But unfortunately, we currently live in a world that is dominated by the urgency of doing more, accomplishing more, earning more, acquiring more, sharing more, learning more, knowing more. It's always more. And there's so much information coming at us. It kind of makes me think about this Macklemore song, Wings, that I really like. And this line, consumption is in the veins. Because we're so obsessed with being more, having more, and doing more that we never stop to analyze the hamster wheels that we've been put onto. The irony of all of this busyness is that it's the thing that we believed to be the tool that would help us finally have a peaceful quality life. If I do more, I'll have more financial freedom. I'll have more security. But it's the very thing that's making our peace and pleasure unattainable because I have so much to do. It requires us to constantly raise the bar for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing because it's never enough. Because it's really not about peace. It's about acquiring more. It's about being more. It's about doing more. And I laugh as I say this because when I was actually putting together this outline, it was on a Saturday when I should have been resting, and I realized I needed to walk away and go enjoy my free time. And so I did. But I totally am subject to this as well. And that's the problem. Even those of us who are trained to help others create more joyful and calm lives are also bombarded with the requirements of doing more. And we have to acknowledge that much of that is an unfortunate reality of the system that we live in. So we have to be especially aware of that. We need to earn a living, and it's become increasingly harder to make enough to meet all the basic requirements of a safe and minimally comfortable life, right? It's really hard these days. So many of us are having to get creative to solve basic economic issues. And we've got so many other things, like it can be compounded by parenthood, single parenthood, both of which require a tremendous amount of time and energy above and beyond just survival stuff. So we're all left feeling like we have so little time that then we have to optimize the time we do have to just the nth degree. But here's the catch-22 that it puts us in. Many of us, because of this, feel like we have a crunch on our time, but all these demands of doing more and being more, we end up trying to make major leaps overnight, and we forget the power of building a good foundation for any change or growth that we want to make. Yes, it is appropriate at times to want to do more, to grow, to earn more, to whatever it might be. But then we want to consolidate the time that it's going to take to do that into such a short period of time. And it's completely unrealistic. And think about all the ways that we tend to do this, right? We do it in crash dieting. We do it with going to the gym obsessively until we burn out. We plan an entire career change suddenly, and we're going to start a new degree and we're going to have this whole new thing and it's going to be overnight. We maybe with parenting, we implement many parenting changes at the same time when just doing one at a time is going to be more realistic and sustainable. Maybe as an entrepreneur, we start selling services in an unaligned way because we have this urgency, right? I heard that this person made money this way, so I'm going to be able to do it that way. And I'm going to just hit the jackpot in this style. But we're not building our capacity. We're not building our skills and all of the things that it takes to actually be someone who makes that kind of money, who has the confidence. It's not even that you need to be somebody who makes that kind of money, to have the confidence in what we're doing, in what you're doing, to believe that you merit that kind of income because your belief is so paramount in there. And the most insidious is when we make major life decisions from that place of not enough time. We marry a person out of pressure to get it done by a certain age instead of waiting for a better match. We have children when we're not ready or with the wrong person because our clock is ticking, which is valid. I get that. We get a pet from the animal shelter in a moment of loneliness, even though we don't have the time or money to actually provide the appropriate care for them long term. Or we quit a job to start some harebrained business without appropriate planning because we convinced ourselves it's the only way to make money quickly. But really, it's mostly because we hate our job. Now, I'm not saying any of these actions in and of themselves are problematic. I'm saying that the pressure that we put on ourselves to do it quickly and not build the right foundation is problematic. It's because we've hit these points of frustration and we're resolved to fix it by going all in, but it's on something that isn't quite right. And we're hoping it will fix the pain we're having. But as all of us know all too well, not only does it not work, it actually delays the very thing you wanted in the first place. Think about that. It's not speeding anything up. It's actually slowing down the alternate route you could have taken. If you had gone slow and steady, it would have happened faster than having to do it wrong and start all over again. And I know how easy it is to do these things because I have done many of them myself. One of the biggest ones I can name, and not to say this is the last one, was in my marriage. I was 26 years old and my 26-year-old brain had concluded that this was the best opportunity I was going to have for happily ever after. So I did all the things one does to be a grown-up and start a life with someone. But definitely deep inside, my intuition was, I want to say, gently reminding, but I think it was kind of yelling at me to not be so hasty, that this didn't feel right. In the end, I had to leave my marriage, and it was really unpleasant. I was recovering from back surgery. I had a 3-month-old and a 3-year-old toddler, and I was not employed. I do not regret the decision I made to marry him because of my amazing children. But I will tell you this, it definitely made everything so much harder. I had to start over from such a hard place, as opposed to if I just made more aligned and slow decisions in the beginning. So I delayed the very thing I was hoping it would fix, right? I was hoping for a solid family structure, and by rushing it, I ended up with a broken family. Now, my decision was sound. Leaving was the appropriate thing to do, and it was better for me and my kids. And actually, I bet my ex would agree it was best for him too in the long run. So I say all that to bring to mind some examples where you think, you could relate to this, some places where maybe you've struggled in the same way. I see this very frequently with my clients as well. And sometimes we have to work through that desire to skip through, even just in therapy, skip through the drudgery of learning new skills to just hurry up to the finish line. Sometimes I'll work with clients and they're like, are we there yet? And I'm like, we just got started. And that's not to say therapy should take forever, but it's not an overnight thing. Because remember, each new skill builds on the last. So you just simply cannot get to the finish line without all the steps in between. So diving headfirst into something that feels off doesn't ever fix your life. It just slows down the thing you really want. Another way to say that is big life overhauls rarely pay off because here's the deal, and I know you've all heard this. Wherever you go, there you are. Your patterns of thinking and behaving will still be there, and they'll crop up when the initial push of a motivation dies down. So the real road to growth is slow and steady. It's measured, it's gentle, and it requires a tremendous amount of self-compassion and patience to try these new things and to not get them perfectly, but keep going at them until you get them done and you get better at it and better at it and better at it until you don't even have to think about it. It just becomes a habit for you. So when I talk to clients about this, I love to allude to the parable of the tortoise and the hare. And for those younger generations out there who haven't heard it, I will give you the background. It's a story about how a tortoise that's naturally slow is supposed to race against a rabbit. And the rabbit is obviously naturally much faster than the tortoise. So the rabbit gets all cocky and he's like showing off. He's taking breaks. He's taking detours. He stops to chat with his super fans. And generally he just distracts himself. But the whole time that he's doing all of that, the tortoise is just slowly plodding along, simply focused on the race, just one step after another. And as you can guess, the lesson here is that the tortoise actually wins the race because he didn't get distracted by all the egoic, shiny stuff. So that is what I want for all of us. Think about all of the skills you currently possess. I doubt a single one of them came from a sudden burst of insight. They were developed over time through learning core skills that you layered with new ones on top of that and then on top of that. And this even applies to times when you're quitting something toxic, right? It could be alcohol, it could be another substance, it could be a toxic relationship or a bad habit. We often see, like from the outside, it looks like somebody did like a cold turkey thing, like they just quit. But I want to argue that the ones that last, where you stop these things, they're never a cold turkey thing. They look like it on the outside, that's all. Because in order to quit something or make a change like this, you have to go through the stages of change. You have to lay a proper framework that will allow you to stick to your commitment. For example, do you think I left my husband overnight? Because the answer is a giant hell no. It took years of preparing. It took months of emotional healing and mental prep work. And so the same goes for quitting drinking. You need to start shifting your habits, your thinking, and usually work with a therapist to prepare. Here at Resource Counseling, we believe everyone can have an extraordinary life and that everyone's extraordinary looks different. If you're ready to take your relationships and your life to the next level, be sure to subscribe to my email list in the show notes. Get free tools, practical weekly tips that you can apply immediately to your life, and become part of our inner circle so you can start living your own extraordinary life today. You also need to understand any health risks, by the way, around tapering or quitting your drug of choice cold turkey. For example, it can be dangerous to suddenly quit drinking alcohol. So you also need several support frameworks in place because there will be a come down from that initial stage of motivation. It will wear off. So this also reminds me of the whole story of the three little pigs. I think everyone knows that one, so I won't go into it. But lots of children's stories, talk about this kind of stuff. And I guess that's the point, because the stories stand the test of time. They contain such powerful lessons that they're hard for us to heed in our youth. But our elders are telling us, like, slow down, build a strong foundation, because nothing solid can be built without a strong foundation underneath it. And that is the story of the three little pigs. You can't build something real on a house of cards because one gust of wind and the whole thing collapses. So with all of that in our framework here, what does that mean for the ways we can make meaningful, lasting change in our lives instead of doing this whole all in, cold turkey, going to revamp my life kind of move? The biggest thing it requires us to do is to slow down. Anything that you're trying to do with urgency is probably from a place of ego or fear. So slow down, okay? First step, explore what it is you're really hoping to create, not the immediate pain point that you're trying to get away from. Oh gosh, that reminds me of a really great line. When you are changing your situation, make sure it's because you're moving towards something, not away from something. right? Do you feel that? If you're moving towards something, it's about growth. If you're moving away from something, you're avoiding pain. And it's not to say you can't avoid pain, but move towards something. So understand what it is you're hoping to create, not just what you're trying to avoid. Start understanding the reasons you're in this pain point as well. What are your core beliefs that brought you here? Why do you think the thing you want is so hard to attain that you're willing to consider a proxy? Why was I willing to marry somebody who didn't feel quite right? Because what was the pain point that made me even consider that? Learn about people who have what you want. Do you want a better marriage? Start learning about healthy marriages. Connect with people who have them. Want to improve your health? Connect with people who live the type of lifestyle you genuinely crave. I'm not saying go find the person who does triathlons. I'm saying go learn from the person who lives the lifestyle that seems attainable to you. Lifestyle, not just binging on something. Now, here's the most important part. What you must remember when you're making a change is that all of these people did not get there overnight, okay? So your job is to start finding small habits that feel sustainable to you and slowly add them into your lifestyle. But you have to remember, these aren't fads that you get to drop once you achieve your goal. We all know that move, right? Cool, I lost the weight. Now I can go back to the way I was eating. Does that ever work out? Sorry, it doesn't. It has to be a new lifestyle that you can adopt in like a loving way for yourself, that it feels long-term manageable. So it can't be giant. It can't be something where you're depriving yourself all the time. Okay. These are new ways of being, of functioning on a daily basis. So please don't bother if you plan to quit the thing once you get to your goal. Think about it this way too. Would you want a partner who stops putting in the effort once they get you to marry them? No, right? Not in a million years. So you need to have that same commitment to yourself. I'm not going to quit this thing that's working for me just because I got to my goal. In fact, I'm going to make sure I sustain it because it's obviously working. Do you think you'll maintain your health goals if you go back to your old habits once you reach them? It just doesn't make sense, and yet we do it all the time. So what does that mean? Like I said before, you add in habits that you plan to keep for the long haul. That doesn't mean you can't adjust them as your life changes or your preferences change. But it's not a matter of dropping them. It's a matter of replacing them with a comparable habit. Let's say you're on your therapy journey and you've decided you're going to meditate every day. Cool. You've established a mindfulness routine. All right. That doesn't feel like it's fitting lately, or you're starting to do parts work with your therapist. Maybe replace that meditation with checking in on your parts daily. So you'll notice I didn't say you stop having a mindfulness habit. I'm saying you replaced it with something else. So all of this to say is you start very, very small, and you make sure that your new habit is solid. Remember that solid foundation concept before you add a new one on. Okay. And if it's not solid, see if you can get it solid. Explore why it's not. See what the block is to it. Yeah, if you need to change plans and you need to go to something else, that's fine. But again, don't try to layer a bunch of things all at once. You need to get one solid before you add another layer. And it really is a game of layers, like building a solid brick house, right? You can't rush it without risking the structure. So I hope that makes sense. And it really relates to what I say at the end of each episode. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Okay? You have to take every step. You don't get to rush to the end because you'll never get there without the steps in between. You will just delay the thing you really want. You will delay getting there. So my invitation for you is build a strong foundation because you are so worth it. I want to thank you so much for listening again today. I hope this episode helps you to slow down, breathe, enjoy your life more, and build towards what you really want with more intention. Because the funny thing is that you'll get there faster if you do it this way. Because sometimes you got to slow down to go fast. And remember, this is just another life skill to help you stop chasing and start choosing. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Resourced Podcast. My hope is that you learned at least one practical tool you can apply to your life today to move in the direction of your dreams. If you found this content helpful, be sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a review, and consider subscribing to my email list, which is linked in the show notes. And remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. What step will you take today?